Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Melissa and Sarah again from Invest Her Fiduciary Solutions. We have a great webinar today that Melissa is going to be heading up. It's on credit, which I know we all love to hate, but it's very important information, and we can't wait to share it with you. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So it's called Credit Confidence, Mastering the Score That Shapes Your Future. And for those of you who haven't tuned into our webinars or who don't know who we are, my name is Sarah Martinez Hansen. I am a financial planning associate with Investor Fiduciary Solutions, switching careers over from the digital marketing industry to the financial planning space. And I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Georgia, expected to graduate in December. And I am also a Air Force veteran of 11 years, and I can't wait to graduate and start helping my fellow veterans with their financial planning goals and just what they want to accomplish in life. So I'll let Melissa take over and tell you about herself and then get started with the presentation.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Melissa George. I'm the founder and CEO of Invest Her Fiduciary Solutions. I've been in the financial services industry for 28 years. I know that doesn't quite look like it, but it has been 28 years. And I started Invest Her Fiduciary Solutions in 2006. So, well established, registered investment advisory firm. And what we really focus on is retirement income planning. The bulk of our clientele are women. A lot of those women are women of color. And one of the reasons why we focus on women is because women tend to be at the bottom of the wealth gap. And we want to make sure that women can retire with confidence. So
Mhm.
we're really excited about the topic that we're going to be sharing with you today. Okay, let's get into it. Now, of course, everybody knows a little bit about credit. I don't want this to be elementary, but for some people that really are not familiar, because there may be some younger people, some college students, maybe even some high school students that may be watching this webinar. We really want everybody to know really what is credit, right? So it's really a tool that allows us to borrow money with a promise to pay, right? And so it's used for all kinds of things. More people think about credit when we're making large, major purchases like our home. Usually, if we're trying to move into an apartment, our credit is checked for that. Sometimes it's even checked when we're applying for jobs. It's definitely used if you're trying to acquire a loan. But it is a reflection of how trustworthy you are with money, right? So that's why we talk about how it really shapes your future, because it's one of those things that kind of follows you wherever you go, right?
Okay.
Yep. So the credit score. So your credit score, it is a three-digit number, and it predicts your ability to repay, right? So this is really important to lenders. And there's sometimes you hear people talk about your FICO score. Hear people talk about your credit score. There are actually different types of FICO scores. We're not going to go into that. We're just kind of give you the broad base of the score, but it ranges from 300 to 850. So when you just think about that score, it would make you think that, okay, 300 is really, really bad. 850 is fantastic. And you're thinking maybe if I'm somewhere in the middle, if I'm around the maybe 500s, you think that would kind of be average. It is not. It actually is still a low score. But the higher your score is, the better your credit worthiness.
Mhm.
Things I think is really interesting about credit, when you think about it, if you have a high score, which means it's predicting your ability to repay, is very it's reliable, right? You
Mhm.
pretty much can pay it back. But here's what happens: people that have a better credit score, they get better interest rates, right? So you get a higher credit score, you get a lower interest rate, you pay less. And it's just the opposite for people that don't have a good credit score. If your credit score is low, meaning you probably have less ability to pay, you're going to get a higher interest rate, which means you are actually going to pay more for the things that you may already be having issues paying for, right? So it's really kind of a double-edged sword, if you will. So that's why we really want to get into ways that you can really affect your credit score. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about this credit score breakdown. This is probably one of the things that when I'm talking with clients about credit, most people, maybe they've seen this once or twice, but they haven't really dug into it and really paid close attention to it. But this is really, really important because there are parts of this credit score that you really can affect all the time. And then there's certain things that you really can't affect. But the largest component of it is your payment history, right? Are you paying your bills on time? I remember when I was a struggling college student and I was just, getting credit and had student loans and all those kinds of things. It was a hard lesson to learn about paying things late. Now, there have been some things that have changed. I know specifically during the Obama administration, if you pay late, you have this grace period. You really have 30 days after the due date before you get a ding on your credit report. It was not like that before. So,
Mhm.
your payment history is really, really important. And so I would always tell people, even if you can't pay the full payment, pay something on time. Always pay something on time, because that is really going to affect 35% of your score. 30% is the amount owed. This one is super, super, super important. And especially for people that are just starting out with credit, your credit utilization. So let's say that you get your first credit card, it has $1,000 limit, right? Available credit. You really want to stay below 30%, meaning $300. The moment you go over $300 or you go over 30% of that available credit, your credit score begins to suffer, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's one of those things. You're starting out with credit, you have $1,000 credit card, you buy something small, you pay it off immediately. Even if you have the money, just you want to start building up that credit history, and eventually, maybe when you ask, maybe if you haven't even asked, your credit lender may increase your credit limit, and all of a sudden they say, okay, well now your limit is $3,000. Okay, so now you can put 30% of that, right? You can
Mhm.
up to 30% of that and not negatively affect your credit score. So this one is really, really important. And if you think about those two things together, the 35% and the 30%, 65% of your score is coming from things that you can actually affect, right? You can manage those things.
Can I
50,
add something, Melissa? For the payment history, I think the biggest things, and like you said, these are things you can control, is putting those payments on auto pay. I
yeah,
think that's the biggest thing, and just checking them, making sure they are going through, but not worrying, "Oh, which payment do I have to pay this week?" It's already on auto pay, and then there's your payment history is good to go. Yeah.
that is a great suggestion. Absolutely. Let's talk about the people that don't like auto pay, because we know there's people out there that don't like it either. If they don't like auto pay, there are so many tools that people can use to remind themselves that the payment is due.
Yeah.
Like I know I have a spending plan. I don't like to call it a budget. I like to call it a spending plan. And in my spending plan, I always put the due date is a day before. So, if I don't
That's
have
smart.
it on auto pay, it's the day before. So, or sometimes I may put it a couple of days before. Or if it's something that is I'm not paying every single month, it's kind of a one off. I may
Mhm.
I may put it in my calendar a week before. I just want to remember because I don't want the payment to be late, right? But that is great, Sarah, for those people that, they want to set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Auto pay is definitely the way to go. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about length of credit history. This is important for a couple of reasons because they want to see longevity, right? They want to see how you have managed credit in the past. And here's where some people get in trouble. People that maybe are have a lot of debt and they're trying to reduce their debt and they just like, I just want to get rid of these credit cards and these loans and these payday loans and all these other things, and they pay something off and then they close the account.
Mhm.
Not close the account
Yeah.
because you just cut off this credit history that you had with that particular that particular creditor. So the way that you can control it is by not closing your account. But you do want to start establishing credit history, right? So that is really important as well. Ooh, the next one, new credit inquiries.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure everyone who is listening has gone to the store and they're getting ready to buy something and they get to the counter and somebody says, "Hey, you can save 10, 15, 20% today if you apply for a credit card."
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it's kind of a trap, right? And it looks very attractive. They might even give you a really substantial discount for shopping that particular day, and maybe you go out and you pick out some more things. But here's what people really need to think about: when you are applying for credit, try not to apply more than twice in a year. New
Mm.
credit inquiries, not more than twice in a year. Again, once you apply more than twice, it
Mhm.
starts to affect your credit score negatively. Okay,
Mm.
so
Okay.
about this, really, when people have financial goals, they really should have credit goals as well, right? If you are somebody, you want an American Express card, that's a credit goal, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But maybe you decided, I would really like a credit. I really want that Delta Sky Miles American Express card because I want to get my Sky Miles, and I want another card for whatever points and things of that nature. That's a great credit goal to have, but we need to be strategic about when we're going to apply for that credit, right? And we don't want to apply more than twice. More than twice a year, I'm not applying for new credit. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule. If you're purchasing a car, if you're purchasing a house, it gets a little different. That
Yeah.
may be a time where you may have multiple inquiries on your credit. Maybe you're going to multiple car dealers. You're working with a mortgage broker, and they're trying to shop your credit at multiple mortgage lenders, right?
Mm.
You
Yeah.
may have many inquiries at that time. What is supposed to happen is if it's all for the car loan, all of those are supposed to wrap up into one. That's what's supposed to happen. It doesn't always happen, but it's supposed to. So that would be the caveat to that. Sarah, you want to add anything in here?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think about how when I was shopping for a mortgage for my house, how many times my credit was pulled. And just thinking that was gonna that was gonna be a big hit on my credit score, but fortunately, I think I was one of the fortunate ones to have it all wrapped up into one.
Yes.
So, I'm glad you put that disclaimer that sometimes that doesn't happen, so.
Yeah. Okay. The last one is going to be your credit mix. To some degree, we can control this, but this is not really one that people pay a lot of attention to, and it's only 10% of your score. But what they mean by credit mix is you might have a mortgage, you might have an auto loan, you may have a couple of credit cards, you may have a signature loan at the bank, you
Mhm.
may have a business loan. This is what they mean by your credit mix. So you have different types of credit that make up your credit mix, right? And so all these things together is what's equaling 100% of your FICO score, right? And as you see, 75% of the score is controlled by us. We can affect 75% of the score.
Yeah.
Next slide. Okay, things that affect the score negatively. We talked about some of these already. So late or missed payments,
Mhm.
that's a big drop. As I mentioned earlier, some of the legislation that happened during the Obama administration was really to kind of help consumers out with credit. And one of them is that if you don't pay by the due date, usually you have 30 days before you're going to get a negative mark on your credit. So that gives you a little bit of grace period. But at the end of the day, you really want to just go ahead and just pay it on time, right?
Yeah.
Those high balances, we already talked about. If you're utilizing more than 30% of your credit, you're going to see your score go down. Now, one thing I want to add right in here, if you're a business owner like myself, there are many times where I am leveraging my credit for, business expenses, payroll, things of that nature. And there may be times where I don't have as much um, income coming in as what needs to go out. And so
Mhm.
I may need to leverage my credit during that time. And guess what? If I may have to go over the 30% threshold, and I literally can see my credit score going down as I'm using more and more of my credit. But guess what? As soon as I'm paying things off, I literally see it go back up. And usually it's within 1 to 2 credit cycles. So usually within 60 days, you can see credit go down, credit go back up, right? So that one is something to really be very cognizant of. And if you're really wanting to have more capacity on your credit card, and you've been great with paying on time, and you have some credit history behind you, you can always call them up and say, "Hey, I'd like to increase my credit." You
Mhm.
can ask them. You don't have to wait till they do it. You can just ask.
Yep.
Anything you want to add here, Sarah?
Um, I just, I kick myself all the time because I had it's like military people would know this, but it's a military credit card that you can only use on military bases at the exchanges which are the stores on base. I had one since I was 19 and it closed. I don't know, I can't remember if I closed it, but
Mm,
if I kept that and I'm 39 now, that would have been so great for my credit score.
it would.
Yeah, so that's like, definitely keep those credit, cards open, those accounts open.
You
Yeah.
brought up such a great point. And this just happened to me in the last 12 months. So I have a Firestone card. I can get tires and oil changes and those kinds of things on my car. And it has a zero balance. And I haven't
Mhm.
used it in quite some time. And I got a letter or an email from them saying if I did not use that card, they were going to close the account. So I went to Firestone and I got some windshield wiper replacements,
Yeah. Yeah,
30 bucks, and I put it on my card, right? Now, here's the thing, all of the companies are not going to tell you. So
right.
sometimes that's where we have to be very vigilant in making sure. I have a couple of cards, they have a zero balance. I might want to go buy a stick of gum. I might want to go buy a lamp, put some gas or some groceries or something on it because I do want them to stay open, right?
Right.
So to your point, I hate that your card, your 20-year history card closed. But you're right, and sometimes they close, and it has hurt my heart a few times. I've had some credit cards where, then the store went out of business, and
Oh, yeah.
the card closed. That really hurt me. So I can tell you, I used to have a linen and things card, which
Mhm.
for your bedding and stuff in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff, and then they closed. And then I was like, oh, now I got to do Bed Bath and Beyond, and now they're kind of
Very close. Yeah.
and so now I'm probably on Amazon like most other people.
Yeah, same with Sears. My dad was a big Sears person. Yeah.
So that hurts us when that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about too many credit inquiries in a short time. I do like to try to space mine out. Remember, I talked about doing two, try not to
Yeah.
do two a year. I like to kind of space them out because if you're applying for a lot of credit all at the same time, what does that say to the credit lender? They're like, what's going on here? This person needs money badly, maybe.
Yeah.
So it can affect you. It can affect your credit score negatively as well. We already talked about closing your old cards, how that can hurt your history. So we do want to still try to keep them open. Can I put something on them? And while we're talking about this, remember we talked about going to the counter, you're getting ready to purchase something, they offer you, 10%
Yeah.
off, whatever. Um, some people really do like department store cards. I really try to stay away from those, right? Because at the end of the
Same.
day, I can only use it there. I can
Yeah.
only use the TJ Maxx card at TJ Maxx, right? So if I have a TJ Maxx card and I haven't used it in a long time and I don't want my card to be closed, the only place I can use it is at TJ Maxx, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to your Visa, your Discover, all the other kind of things, right? Using less than 30% of your available credit is ideal. We've mentioned that already. So, okay, next slide. All right, let's start talking about setting some smart credit goals, right? So, we talked about how people have financial goals, we have fitness goals, we have all these different goals, but a lot of times people don't have credit goals and they really should. And one of your credit goals should be to have a score that's over 700.
Yeah.
That really can help you a lot. Um, of course, you're seeing some things here repeatedly for a reason. Keep your utilization low, meaning keep below 30% of your
Mhm.
available credit, paying your payments on time. Avoid unnecessary debt, right? Um, Sometimes it's very easy to just go ahead and throw it on a credit card, not thinking that, are you going to really have the money to pay it off at the end of the month? Which is really how we should think about it, unless it's a really um, a large purchase. So let me give you an example. This happens a lot with furniture, right? Furniture
Mhm.
or large appliances. They give you the credit card and they're going to say, hey, 12 months, no interest, same as cash. That is fantastic, especially if you pay it off in the 12 months, right? So people really should look at it. Let's say the item again, it's just make it easy. Let's say the item is $1,200. You're getting 12 months, zero interest, pay $100 a month. So at the end,
Right.
it's already paid off, right? Because what most people don't know in the little fine print, whatever is not paid off by the time that 12 months is up, the interest is retroactive to the first day. So if that whole 12 months, they're going to still collect all that interest. They're going to tack it on. So I know I learned that the hard way. Rooms to go.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You know, rooms to go, rooms to go. Um, Obviously, tracking your score is so much easier now. There's all these tools out here where we can track our credit score. Now, I do think it's important to check all of the three major bureaus that people are familiar with, right? So that's going to be Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Those are the three that everybody is kind of familiar with. I'm going to tell you about one more later that most people have not heard about. But all this is like really, really, really important as far as your smart credit goals.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Here's where it starts getting fun. This is the fun part of credit because you can leverage your credit, right? So, part of leveraging your credit is having a smart credit goal, but it's not just getting any credit card. It's really thinking about how you want to utilize credit. What are the types of loyalty points and rewards that you want to use? So, one of the things I always like to do is I have my business American Express Delta Sky Miles card, right? Because
Mhm.
I get the airline points. I also have a Chase one for the Southwest points. Those are really the two airlines that I generally will fly. But then I have a Amex personal for the Hilton rewards, right? So that's the thing. If I'm making a personal expense, I want to use my personal Amex because I want to rack up my hotel points. If it's a
Mhm.
business expense, I want to use my business Amex so I can get my airline points. And guess what? By the time I'm getting ready to go on vacation, my airfare is usually free and my hotel is usually free. And what a great way to go on vacation, right?
Right. That's so smart.
Now, some people do things differently. Some people like the cash back cards, or they have different types of loyalty points. So I'm just, that was my example, but people can look and decide whatever kind of card is going to work best for them. But I do think you should pick a card based upon your spending habits, right?
Yeah, I
You,
agree.
yep. And what about using it regularly so you can earn those rewards? So let's just say every month your take home pay, of course, I'm just making up some numbers, is $2,000. And why not all the things that you would buy anyway, maybe with your debit card or cash, whatever? Why not just put it on the card, but just pay the card off every month and just
Mhm.
rack up as many points as you can, right? Taking advantage of sign up bonuses. So sometimes cards are like, if you get this new card and if you spend a certain amount in the first 30, 60, 90 days, they're going to give you a whole lot of points.
Yeah.
lots, 50,000 points, 70,000 points, something like that. Take advantage of that. But yeah, it's great if you can just pay that balance off in full every month. Helps your score as well.
Yeah.
See, here is something important to think about as you're creating your smart credit goals. You've decided, I want a Discover card and I want an American Express card. And you want to know what your credit score is. But guess what? Before you apply for the card, Google what is the credit score that is required for that card. Wouldn't it be great
Ah,
to know what the score is in advance?
yeah.
And you also might Google which credit bureau do they check. So
Yeah.
let me tell you a story. This is a real life story. I wanted an American Express. I had one from USAA some years and years ago, but it was a secured card, right? So I had to
Mhm.
put money in a CD or something, and whatever amount I had in the CD, that was my credit limit on the card.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's great for people that are struggling with a low credit score, and over time, their card can become unsecured, right? Like, we want to see how you do. You got some collateral over here in a CD or savings account. But this particular card did not become unsecured at some point. But I wanted a legitimate American Express that was not secured.
Mhm.
So at one point I applied for one and I did not get it, got declined. And that hurts your feelings.
Mhm.
Like, what am I doing wrong? And then finally I decided to really get serious about my credit and start really tracking it and trying to see what was going on. And this was like my epiphany. I said, let me Google and see what the score is. And I think at the time my score was maybe around 690. And the score to get the American Express card was 720. Well, how about that? Now I know what is the score that I need.
Yeah.
So instead of me getting all these inquiries, like I dinged it, and then 6 months, 9 months, 12 months later, I apply again and I get turned down. Now I know what the score is.
Yeah.
So I really started working on checking my score, making sure everything was paid on time, looking for erroneous things, errors that were maybe on my credit report, just trying to clean everything up.
Yeah.
And once my credit score was over 720, I applied. And guess what? My
Got it.
I got it. Not only did I get it, it was in the mail the next day. Like, they pressed that thing that day. It was in my mailbox the very next day with my name on it. And I was like, wow, that is something that really should be done all the time.
Yeah.
That you don't have these dings that are just out there. You want to know what is the score that they're looking for that particular card, for that loan, for that mortgage, for that matter, right? So that's important. So that's one of the things that I definitely would recommend that people do. Um, and like I talked about, if you're going to be applying, kind of spread it out. Maybe do
Mhm.
one at the first part of the year, you do one kind of at the latter part of the year. Your thoughts, Sarah? You think about?
No, thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know, and it's such a simple thing too. I mean, you Google who knows how many times a day, and that is something that's really important that you can Google real quick, and then you have a goal
Yeah.
because like you said, that's part of your setting your goal. I wanna get that card. That's my goal.
Yep.
So, I think
That's a
I didn't
difference.
even know that. I didn't even think about that, so thank you so much for sharing that.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I applied and got turned down first.
Mhm.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so here are some credit tips for paying down debt, right? Sarah and I work with a lot of clients that are trying to get their retirement plans together, and a lot of times they have some debt. Most people have a mortgage. They may or may not have a car loan, but one of the things that a lot of people have is credit cards. Of course, student loans is kind of in that situation. We're going to do another session one day on student loans. It needs its
Yeah.
own webinar, but some tips for paying down debt. Okay, so there are two there are two strategies for paying down debt. One of them is called the avalanche method, and one of them is called the snowball method. And people that are watching may have heard of these two. The snowball method is actually more popular, but I'm going to start with the avalanche method because it actually saves the most amount of money, right? So what you do is you Excel spreadsheet or on a piece of paper, whatever it is, you write down all of the credit cards, right? You write down what the balances are, and you write down what the interest rate is, right?
Mhm.
No, those interest rates can get sky high.
Yes.
And you put them in order of the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. And what you're going to do is you're going to focus on paying off the one with the highest interest rate first, right?
Mhm.
Because as you're paying that down, you're reducing your interest. So that's what we mean by it's going to save you the most amount of money over time. Inevitably, it always seems though that the one with the highest balance is also the one with the highest interest rate. That's usually what
Mhm.
happens. And so what happens is in order to pay that card off, it usually takes the longest amount of time where you may have some other smaller cards, smaller balances. But it does reduce the interest and it shortens the time that's going to take you to pay off. But look, we're creatures of habit and we are very emotionally driven when we're talking about our money. And so this is why the snowball method is usually more popular because it helps you build momentum. And what I mean by that is you're still ranking those credit cards, the balances, but now you're ranking the balances from the lowest balance,
Mhm.
the highest balance, and any extra money you're going to pay off the lowest balance first. So what does that do? As soon as that first one gets paid off, maybe that one gets paid off in a couple of months, the endorphins are going off, right? Oh my
Mhm.
God, I paid off one of my credit cards. I'm so super, super happy. And now you're motivated to go to the next one,
Mhm.
get off. It will actually take you a little bit longer. I shouldn't say a little bit longer. It will take you longer than the avalanche method, but it is the one that is most popular and the one that people generally can stick with because they see the results sooner,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Thanks, Sarah. Have you ever? I know you've had this experience working with some of our clients.
Yeah, and I agree, the snowball method is more popular with clients, because they do get that quick win of seeing, their first credit card paid off. I like to do the avalanche method. I have all my, credits, accounts, ranked by interest rate, and the interest rates are really high. I mean, I think I feel like just this time last year was one of my cards was at 16, 17%, and I looked when I paid it off and I was like, "Ooh, it was at 30%." So, I was like, "Okay, this is getting out of control." So, but I do like that avalanche method, personally.
Yeah. So when people do have a lot of debt, now here's where we're talking about where your credit can really be a benefit. You can leverage your credit. If your credit score is high enough, if it's high enough, remember you go out there and search. If you can find a 0% balance transfer card, and these things are
Mhm.
out there all the time, right?
Yeah.
12 months, no interest, sometimes 18 months, maybe sometimes even 24 months of no interest. If you can find a card like that and you can apply and get that card and you start transferring the highest interest rate balance, like you said, you thought you had 16%, it was 30%, right?
Mhm.
A big portion of every payment was going to interest. If
Yeah.
you can transfer that to this zero interest card, then guess what? For the next 12, 18, 24 months, 100% of your payment is paying down that debt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to really help you pay it off so much quicker. But again, you got to have a good credit score for that, right?
Yeah.
Sarah, here's the one that you talked about automating those payments.
Mhm. Yes.
So you don't worry about missing it. I mean, you could be on a cruise somewhere, the payment is still going to get paid, right? You don't have to
Right.
think about it. And of course, not adding new debt, right?
Yeah.
I often tell clients, if we're working on a debt reduction plan, I was telling, first of all, don't close anything, right? And don't carry all those cards. You carry one for emergencies. Don't carry it. Put it away somewhere. I've even heard of some people putting it in a Ziploc bag and then putting that Ziploc bag and a thing of water
In
and
the
putting
freezer.
it in the freezer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too.
I don't think you have to go to that extreme, but not carrying the card can certainly be helpful. Let's see, there was something else I wanted to tell you on this page. I can't remember what it is. It might come to me on the next one, the next slide.
Okay.
Okay, here we are again. We're talking about do's and don'ts, right? We already said do, pay on time. You utilize 30% or less of your credit limit. Keep your old cards open. Monitoring your credit report. We're going to talk. I think the next slide talks about that as well. And not maxing out your card. No, don't pay late. Don't apply for multiple cards too quickly, 2 per year. Ooh, here's a big one. Co-signing. Co-signing for friends. I mean, you could put a blank there. Co-signing for who? Friends, family, children, obviously at your discretion. Um, I was doing this workshop for some college students, and I was telling them, don't co-sign for your roommates.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Co-sign for your roommates is a big one. But how? Again, even with your friends, think about it. Your friends have. It's not a real credit score, but think about it. When you think about your friends, you're obviously thinking if your friend asks you to borrow money, in your mind, you're actually kind of doing a calculation of whether or not they can pay it back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you got to think about that. Or you do what I try to do is if I loan it, in my mind I gave it. I have to
Yeah.
be prepared to not get it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I need it back, it's going to throw off my spending plan, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to affect my spending plan. So it's either a loan or it's a gift. Or I might tell them it's a loan, but in my mind it's still a gift, right?
Yeah.
I won't loan it unless I know that if I don't get it back, I'm still going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, the next slide. Okay, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I'm remembering what the thing is I wanted to tell everyone. Okay, annually, there's obviously all these ways that people can check your full credit report annually.
Yeah.
Annual credit report, or there's one is freecreditreport.com or something like. There's a bunch of them, right? People can Google that. And I think once a year you should access your full report. Now, I remember the very first time I pulled my full report, I was really shocked at how many errors. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about dates of birth, names, addresses, like it was just so much stuff on there that was just incorrect. And there's processes for, cleaning up that information. You can, what do you call it? Dispute. They have
Just
a
yeah.
dispute resolution where you can get those things cleared up. But you do want to check that at least once a year. And especially the ones where they're free, check it once a year. And, that's just like a task that I do every single year is I'm going to pull down my credit reports and I want to look and see what's on there. Now, if you're really working on your credit, I would suggest that you check your credit score monthly. And you don't have to pay for that either because there's all these different apps and things that you can use where you can get your scores. Now, I do think it's important to check your scores from all 3 bureaus because you might have 2 scores that are really kind of close together and then one is way off somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And the one that's way off maybe because there's some really big error on that particular report. That's why I'm saying you want to check all 3. But here are some. Credit Karma. Again, I put in here Credit Karma's for TransUnion and Equifax. Well, what about Experian? So then I go, here's the Experian app. It will give your FICO score. And this is really cool too. The dark web monitoring. Now, everybody knows we live in the era of fraud and
Scams.
scams and all the electronic and digital things that are going on. But it also does dark web monitoring. So, everybody's information is floating out here somewhere. Oh, that reminds me of a really important thing I want to tell you. Credit cards that you're not using, turn them off.
Yeah.
Turn them off. Go in the app, go on the web, and turn them off.
Yeah.
These little, I'm going to show you these RFID cards that are supposed to stop people from walking past you and pulling your I think I have one around here somewhere, pulling your credit information right out of your wallet.
Yeah.
They don't always work. What does work is if the card is turned off, right? I,
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time this happened to me, I was traveling. I was in DC. I had my cards on me the whole time. And as soon as I got back, I had $600 charged at Forever 21 in New York.
Mm,
Now, I'm not shopping at Forever 21.
yeah.
So I like to keep my cards off. And guess what? If I'm going to use the card, I go on the app, I turn it on, I make my purchase, and I turn it right back off again. It's so easy, right? And I think that's a great thing that people can do to kind of protect themselves, because nobody wants to have to go through calling and saying this was fraud and you got to
Mhm.
wait. You know, nobody wants to do all that. Although I will say American Express is really good at that.
Mhm.
They handle it very quickly. Again, you have Credit Sesame, Score plus credit monitoring, Discover credit scorecard, and you can do that without even having a Discover account. Some of the banks, I know
Yeah.
I'm at Wells Fargo. There's a thing in there where I can check my credit score.
Yeah.
It
Capital One.
yeah. Do you notice that yours lags a little bit? It lags like the credit score, and then maybe it might be 2 to 3 months later before the bank score is showing.
Catches up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before it catches up. But still, it's so easy to check. Now, the one last thing that's not on the slide that I wanted to tell people about, there is a company called Nexus Lexus.
Nexus Lexus. Okay.
This Lexus, and I just found out about it maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It is also a credit reporting agency, but it is very extensive. Like,
Mhm.
it may even have medical bills and things are on this particular one.
Oh, okay.
Um, and it's NEXUS, Nexus Lexus. People can Google it. I've only pulled my report off of there one time, and it took a while. And of course, they mail it to me and all of that, and it was a lot of pages. Um,
Mhm.
I haven't really figured out what agencies are really using that, but it was still enlightening for me to see because it had more information than, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. It just had more information on there. And while I'm mentioning it, Sarah, you and I already know this, that one of the major reasons for bankruptcy is medical bills,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You and I were talking right before this about, maybe we'll do a session. We're going to definitely want to do a session at some point on debt. Um,
Mhm.
and you were sharing with me what you're learning in your master's program
Yeah.
about um,
Prioritizing debt.
yes, prioritizing debt. Like if you have X amount of dollars and you have different types of debt, which is the one that you should, where should you put your money?
Right.
And a lot of times people are not focused on different types of debt, but medical debt is usually one of the top reasons that people end up getting having to file bankruptcy. So,
Yeah.
at a later date, we definitely want to talk a little bit about that. But I think LexisNexis also keeps some of that data is on their report. So,
That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, let's
Yeah.
have a little.
And I just wanted to add on this slide in particular, the dark web monitoring made me think of that I'm also like as a mother, I'm monitoring my daughter's stuff as well. So any parents out there, you can definitely put your kids' socials in there and start monitoring their information because people can grab their information and start opening accounts and credit cards in their names, and you won't even know until you start checking, which you should be checking at least once a year. So
Absolutely.
definitely that's the dark web monitoring is a good feature.
Let me add two more things because I know we're kind of wrapping up here. Man, these senior moments be getting me.
It's okay.
Speaking of the dark web, of course, now everybody is people are hearing about fraud all the time, right? Probably everybody has credit monitoring now, right?
Mhm.
And you were talking about monitoring your daughter. I'm in caregiver mode. So for those of
Yeah.
us that are caring for elderly people, seniors, same thing. We need to, be looking on the dark web or monitoring their information as well. Um, Especially if they have a lot of capacity, meaning they have sizable assets, they have wealth. right?
Yes.
Maybe they're declining in cognitive ability, physical, whatever, right? And if you're a caregiver of in any capacity, that would be something to really look into as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Melissa. Yeah, and that reminds me, I probably should check my dad's credit score.
And the last story I'm going to share, and this probably happened about this is probably about 3 years ago. I was traveling to Miami. Um, this is like a crazy story, but so when I got there, and when I got there, it was like 11:30 at night. So, by the time I got my bag and I'm getting ready to Uber whatever to my cousin's house where I was staying, um, something really weird happened. So I had my Uber account, and I ordered my Uber, and I'm out there waiting. It was a weird thing that happened. There was like some type of code. I got some type of code, right,
Hmm.
on my phone, and
Yeah.
I was waiting for the Uber person, and it like how you kind of see them, and then all of a sudden it was like it was just gone. I'm like, what is going on here? Well, then I'm trying to reach out to them. I'm like, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting at the airport. I don't want to have to order another one. It's like midnight.
Yeah.
I'm at the airport. And so I think I just remember reaching out, and someone had texted me and said, well, what was the code?
Hmm.
And I gave the code.
Okay.
Wrong, wrong, wrong.
Uh-oh.
They locked up my Uber account.
Oh, no.
My American Express card was in the Uber account.
Yikes.
So here's what happened. I thought American Express is great. First, they added like $600 from my American Express card directly into the Uber account. And then they immediately started like ordering Uber Eats and stuff
Oh, gosh.
all over the place. And I could see it. I could kind of see it happening, but I could not log into they changed my changed my passcode. Here's the worst part of it. Uber did not have a telephone number. There was
Oh,
no telephone number. That
no.
there was no. So here it is. It's midnight. I still have to order another. And mind you, I'm a Lyft girl now, but that's beside the point.
I would be too after all this.
Well, plus Lyft costs less. But it took me weeks. Now I called American Express. No problem. Don't have to worry about it. Whatever. Took care of it. But in the meantime, I still couldn't get into my Uber account. And
Mhm.
and every time someone was ordering something, I could message in there, and I'm like, this is not, this is a scam, this is fraud, whatever, but I still couldn't get in the account. It took me about 3 weeks to get into my account.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the bright side is now that's why I'm telling people to be really cautious about codes. Like, sometimes now when you get in the car, the driver will ask you for a code. It's kind of a safety feature. That's different. That's not what happened. The car hadn't even shown up yet,
Right.
but I gave out this code, just not thinking. I'm tired. It's midnight. So they literally took over my Uber account. The benefit was when I got in there, whatever of the $600 that hadn't been spent was still in my account. Still in my
Oh,
account.
okay.
So I still got to use it, but I didn't pay for it because American Express had already made me whole. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was just it was like so many things that we have to think about. We have to be cognizant all the time. Like, is this scam? Like, it's happening all the time, right? Phone calls and emails that we're getting with, attachments, and don't open this. And we have to be thinking and be vigilant all the time. And that's why I said sometimes it's really important to just have your card turned off.
Yeah.
And I try to, I mean, it's hard now, but I try to, as much as possible, to not have my card sitting in different accounts,
Mhm.
right? Unless it's something I'm using all the time. But, we have to be vigilant about staying on top of our credit and watching and seeing if there's anything weird going on. And I'm gonna leave with this one. Apps like Rocket Money, where they're checking all those subscriptions.
Mhm.
A lot of times we have a lot of subscriptions for things that we're not even using, and we've been paying, $10, $9.99 a month for, years for
Yeah.
something that we don't use. That's another kind of thing that we need to look into. And I know periodically I will go into my PayPal account, go to the subscriptions tab, and see things that are still kind of open and close them out,
Yeah.
you know? So there we go.
Yeah.
Now, do we have one more slide, Sarah?
Oh, yes.
I think we have one more.
We have 2. Yeah.
Okay. Well, guess what? Anyone can book a 30-minute consultation with us, and the information is right here. If they go to our website, there's all kinds of resources there, but they can definitely go to our calendar link. They can book a free 30-minute consultation with either one of us. And if they want to talk about credit or any other financial topic, we are available to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you all for joining. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you, Melissa, for heading that up. This was great.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone has a credit score story, horror story, like the one with your Uber. It's just so commonplace to have to be scammed nowadays, but
Absolutely.
thank you all so much.
And we'll see you next month with a brand new topic.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.